Is going on, everybody, and welcome to the Thursday edition of the Stochastic NHL Strategy Show. I'm your host, Josh Harris. NHL schedule doing NHL things. We have 14 games here tonight. I thought 12 was going to be the top this week, and then last night, right around lock, I looked at the schedule and I just went to bed. But joining me to break it down. No sleep till Brooklyn. Slim Cliffy, what's going on?
Yeah, not going to be a lot of sleep tonight. With 14 games on the board. Yeah, not a whole lot. Obviously, we should probably just jump right into it. But before we do have to shout out Elway's Army. Tuesday night on that 12-game slate took down first, second, and fourth in the Minimax. Had a really, really good night on Tuesday night. So, he's been a long-time subscriber, member in the Discord. Nice to see him get a big night. Hopefully we can get another big night in the Discord here tonight.
Yeah, that would be nice. 14-game slate. You hope there's multiple paths to victory. We're still waiting on an update here for some ownership purposes, but we will start and wait for the update in the meantime because we have 14 games and we should talk about it. San Jose Sharks, 2.9 total heading into Boston. The Bruins have a 3.6. Sharks are going Celebrini, Smith, Graf, Misa, Eklund, Toffoli, Wenberg, Gaudette, Sherwood. William Eklund's technically a game time decision, but from the horse's mouth, he said he's playing tonight. So I guess unless a doctor stops him, he'll be in the lineup. Boston going Lindholm, Kuznetsov, Pastrnak, Zacha, Middlestat, Arvidsson, Minton, Esamon, Geeky. Pastrnak missed morning skate due to the birth of his daughter yesterday. He is playing tonight. New dad energy. He'll probably score. Not sure how much the baby would have to do with it, though, because he's always scoring. It's a pretty interesting game. Boston has the second highest total on the board here tonight. They're not getting a ton of owner. I mean, like the second and third lines are pretty highly negatively leveraged, and I don't have a ton of interest there. However, the top line, you got Lindholm and Pastrnak on the top power play for $14K for the two of them. I would absolutely be making this a power play stack. You can leave off Kuznetsov, add in Zacha, make it 17-8. Leave off Kuznetsov, add in Morgan Geeky, make it 19-2. 19-2 for a full-line power play stack against the Sharks with one of the worst. I mean, they take a ton of penalties. The penalty kill isn't the worst, but like when you take that number of penalties, you're going to give up a lot of goals. It looks like it's going to be Ned in net. So it would be some sort of power play stack on the Bruins side. You could full send a power play stack, I guess. 14-game slate, that's a little wild in single entry, but in MME, I think, you definitely want to get Charlie McAvoy involved as well. On the Sharks side, listen, this is a good power play spot for them too. Boston, I think, I'm pretty sure they're top three in the amount of time shorthanded per game this season, up there with Utah and someone else. But, leaving Graf there, I guess, is fine. But the thing is, like, Wenberg's only $100 more and on the top power play unit. So you can leave off Graf, add in Wenberg. He's going to play decent minutes anyway. Make it 17,700. As long as you have Celebrini and Smith, you can add in Toffoli, add in Wenberg, leave Graf. I would add in one of the power play guys and make it a power play stack. I don't mind. Again, San Jose 2 is fine as a filler in MME. They play, they don't play heavy minutes, but they play decent enough minutes. You get Toffoli on the top power play unit. Misa and Eklund have had good numbers together this season, so I'm not really concerned about the middle six matchups from the Bruins, but it would be power play stack on both sides.
Yeah, the Boston, the Boston penalty kill you mentioned, not even top three for time shorthanded, the most time shorthanded in the NHL this season. Third most, though, since January 1st. But one way or another, they take a ton of penalties, and the penalty kill is just not very good. since January 1st, bottom 8 by goals against per minute on the penalty kill. Over the course of the season, below average, or like 23rd or something like that. So, like, this is a really good power play spot for San Jose. And we always mention power play has been a lot better with Dmitry Orlov running it. I think San Jose has 3 power play goals in the last 5 games with Orlov on the ice, which was as many as in the previous 27 games with Klingberg running it or something like that. And there was another goal San Jose scored a couple games ago, where it's literally 1 second after the power play expired. The guy hadn't even gotten back in the defensive zone. So this is a very good power play spot for the Sharks. So yeah, I kind of agree with you that I might take off Graf and put on Wenberg. I think you can put on Toffoli. At the very least, I would build around Celebrini and Smith. That top line, 3.2 goals per 60 minutes with Graf on the ice. It's pretty good. It's not elite, but it's pretty good. But the thing is they just play so many minutes, right? Celebrini quite often is around the 22-minute mark, give or take. Even Will Smith is in the high teens, and Graf will probably play over 15 minutes because he does play some on the PK. So if you want to just stack San Jose one, I'm fine with that. But yeah, I really do like that Sharks top line here tonight. I think I agree with you. I might take out Graf and put in Wenberg, just make it more of a power play stack. I think you can just go San Jose one and then add in Wenberg or Toffoli if you want. But either way, I really do like that Sharks top line in this matchup. On the Boston side, it is a pretty good power play spot for the Bruins as well, just because the Sharks also take a fair amount of penalties. They're at 3.0 time shorthanded per game. Since January 1st, it's worse than league average, 3.1 over the course of the season. It's 8th most in the league. So, Boston's power play, which has been pretty good this year, has a very good spot as well. David Pastrnak is the highest projected winger on the board here tonight. Now, it's not breaking news. Pastrnak against San Jose is a top projected winger, but you have Kirill Kaprizov at home against the Flyers. You have Kucherov at home against a Tampa team missing their top 2 centers, and Pastrnak is easily the highest projected winger. So at the very least, a one-off Pastrnak I think makes a lot of sense. I agree with you. I'd probably take off Kuznetsov and put on Zacha. The thing with Zacha is he also gets a fair bit of 5-on-5 time because they do use his line quite often in a shutdown matchup. So that means a lot of ice time for them against Celebrini, which isn't a very good defensive line either. So even Zacha gets a good 5-on-5 matchup. So I agree with you. Both top lines probably want to turn into some sort of power play stack, but I think if you want to just play either of the top lines, it's perfectly fine. I would lean to San Jose because I think it's a better power play spot for the Sharks than it is for the Bruins, but it's not by much. They're both in a pretty good spot here.
Washington Capitals with a 2.8 total heading into Buffalo. The Sabres have a 3.8, the highest total on the board. Our Buffalo Sabres. Are they ours? Not really. Caps going, as far as I know, Strome, Ovechkin, Protas. They played last night. Dubois, McMichael, Wilson, Sordif, Leonard, Beauvillier. It was Logan Thompson in net, so it's Uncle Chuck, Charlie Lindgren in net for the Caps. Buffalo going Thompson, Benson, Ostland, McLeod, Zucker, Quinn, Norris, Doan, Tuck. Tuck is a game-time decision, but he practiced in full this morning, so seems like he's going to play. On the Washington side, I mean, there's absolutely going to be no ownership here. I don't have a ton of interest back-to-back on the road with 28 teams playing. Chychrun has looked pretty bad the last 2 games, but, if I was going to play a line, it'd probably be Dubois, Wilson, McMichael, it's assuming it's them. I know Wilson and Ovechkin moved around in the game yesterday, but, it's an early lock. So if anything, it would be Dubois, McMichael, Wilson. On the Sabre side, this is a really good power play matchup. It's also a good 5-on-5 matchup. The problem is now Thompson is with two guys not on the power play, but they are both basically min price. So you could get a Tage Thompson line at 13,300. Thompson and Benson have played well together. I guess what you could do is go Thompson, Benson, leave off Ostlund, add in another power play guy, Doan, Norris, Zucker. They're all within $200 of each other, and make it like a 15 and change. You could legit just power play stack if you don't mind going across three lines. You could just go Buffalo too, because they have been excellent, but I would lean again towards something with Thompson, Benson, add in another power play guy, or just go Buffalo 3, because Tuck, with Norris and Doan is an interesting line. They're probably going to play decent minutes. But, with Charlie Lindgren in net, the drop-off not only is big at 5-on-5, it's big on the penalty kill as well. And Washington already doesn't have a great penalty kill. So I try to get in as many power play guys as I could.
Yeah, we have to see what the Washington lines end up looking like. They did mix them up a little bit last night. McMichael, Dubois, Wilson finished the game together. Like, that would be a line I would be pretty interested in, actually. Just because, like, they typically do have pretty good numbers together. Like, I was looking at Wilson and McMichael's numbers without Protas on the line. 66 shot attempts, 3.7 expected goals for per 60. Like, that's extremely high in 110 minutes. Like you said, I don't think anybody's going to be playing Washington here. Problem is like, if this was a 9-game slate, I would really have a lot of interest. Like you said, on a slate this big, I'm not sure. But at 13,400, they're basically a filler. And like I said, they have been able to generate a lot. Now, they haven't finished well. Obviously, Buffalo's on quite a roll here. But if I was 20 max and above, like, I would definitely be keeping an eye on what the Washington lines look like. Because if it's something like McMichael, Dubois, Wilson, or whatever, that would be pretty interesting to me, even on a road back-to-back. But it is the Buffalo side that I do have interest in. And I was, season is long, but we do have to remember Tuck and Doan played quite a bit together on the third line earlier in the season. I think Olsson was the center at the time. Whenever Tuck and Doan have been on the ice without Tage Thompson, 3.8 expected goals, 4.7 actual goals per 60. That is absolutely nuts stuff. And the fact that they've been able to score is one. Two, there's, like you said, shooting on Charlie Lindgren. That's a big bonus. You do get a couple guys on the top power play unit. I hate doing a Buffalo stack and leaving off Tage Thompson. I think it's doable here just because they are mixing up Thompson's wingers. He has been good with Benson, but not to where the level they were last year. Like, they've been above average offensively together, but not great. And they were great last year. This year, not quite. Like, there is a reason why Benson was skating on the fourth line and Krebs was on the top line for a month. It's not because they want Krebs playing on the top line necessarily. It's because Benson's just hasn't had the season that they hope, like probably driven by injury or whatever. But that Norris line, really interesting to me at 15,400. So Norris, Tuck, Doan is probably where my interest is most in this game. But I do think that Washington second line, assuming it's, Dubois, McMichael, Wilson, or some iteration very close to that, would be interesting to me in MME, certainly.
Got a projections update. Ownership file still loading, so give us a couple minutes and then we'll start citing the top stacks. Don't really need to cite them in this game. St. Louis Blues with a 2.3 total heading into Carolina. The Hurricanes have a 3.6. Blues going Thomas, Snuggerud, Holloway, Dvorsky, Neighbors, Kyrou, Suter, Buchnevich, Stenberg. Johnny Drouin out. He went home or something. Homesick. I don't know. Carolina going Aho, Svechnikov, Jarvis, Stankov, and Hall, Blake. Stahl, Martinook, Ehlers. It is Binnington in net. for the Blues. He has been not good for the Blues this season. The thing is, like, Carolina 1's really expensive here tonight, 20,900. Blues don't take a ton of penalties. Their penalty kill, not great, though. I don't know, man. Like, I know the power play has been better with Nikishin than Ghost, which is weird to say. I think in MME, I'd be more likely to play Carolina than in single entries. There's just so many lines that are around the same price or cheaper, or 17 and 19K that I'd rather play, especially when you have the depth lines like Stankov and Hall Blake just absolutely dominating when they're on the ice. They are 12,400. They don't play a ton of minutes, but they've been excellent this season. Stahl, Martinook, Ehlers have been excellent as well. I'd probably go to the depth of Carolina 2, Carolina 3. I think Carolina 1 is fine in 20 max or above. The Blues side, Cliffy highlighted how good their penalty kill has been since Jacob Slavin has come back. I'm not running out to play the Blues here by any stretch of the imagination, so don't be like, oh, this guy touted the Blues and now I'm losing in single entry. But if I was MMEing like 20 plus lineups and I got a couple St. Louis, Thomas, Holloway, Snuggerud, I would probably leave it. They're 14,100. They're going to play heavy minutes. They've been fine in the 3 games they've played together. Thomas is easily their best center. Holloway was excellent last season. He had a rough start to this season due to injuries. That would be the line I'd go to on the Blues, but I would absolutely reserve that for MME. I'm probably out on the Blues in single entry.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be getting to the Blues. Like, I like that line. Smaller slate maybe, but they're going to get the Slavin matchup at 5-on-5 and on the penalty kill. Like, it's for me, like, I'm just out on St. Louis here. Carolina top line, like, this is a pretty good spot for them because of the St. Louis penalty kill, which is almost non-existent. Since January 1st, second most goals against per minute in the league on the PK, only Vancouver giving up more. Over the course of the season, third most goals against per minute, only Vancouver and Seattle giving up more. So this has been one of the worst penalty kills in the league, whether you look at the whole season or just like the last, third or whatever. Carolina's power play has been a lot more productive with Nikishin running it. 20,900 feels like a pretty steep price for that line. It is a good matchup, but we'll get to Edmonton later. The Edmonton top line is the same price. Depending what Tampa's lines look like, they'll be their top line with Kucherov will be somewhere in the same price range at home against Detroit, again missing their top 2 centers. So MME or something, I think it's fine to get Carolina 1 single entry. I think there are other spots that I'd rather go to. It is the Stankov and Blake and Hall line I would rather go to. I was looking at their minutes. They played 20 games now since Jacob Slavin came back. In those games, that line's at 76 shot attempts, 3.7 expected goals, 3.1 actual goals per 60. Taylor Hall, 8 points in 7 games since coming back from the Olympic break. They get 30% of the power play time, which isn't a lot, but Carolina does draw a reasonable amount of power play. So it actually translates to like a minute and a half per game of power play time, give or take. Against this St. Louis penalty kill, I don't know. Carolina 2, 12,400 seems more intriguing to me. And the other thing is that obviously they're not using a shutdown role. So they're not going out against Robert Thomas, right? They're going out against Dalibor Dvorsky and Otto Stenberg. So I really like the 5-on-5 matchups. This feels like one of those games. I mean, anything can happen in hockey, but it feels like one of those games where Carolina might get out to like a 2-0 lead in the first period or something. And all of a sudden every single forward plays between 11 and 17 minutes. That's what I worry about with the top line is one, they don't play a ton of minutes anyway. The other is this is the kind of matchup where maybe they pull back on the minutes of that top line just a little bit. If they can build some sort of lead, especially where Carolina plays Tampa on Saturday. Like, that's a pretty big game for them. I imagine they want their top guys a little bit rested for that one. So, yeah, it's Carolina. It's the Stankoven line for me. Like, that's easily the line that I like best in this game. That, and it is one of the fillers I would target here tonight at 12,400.
Yeah, and it is Binnington in that, and he's been so much worse than Hofer this season. So yeah, like they're coasting in that game. That top line may pay 17, 18 minutes. Update is in they're not our Columbus Blue Jackets anymore. Rick Bowness ruined that for everyone involved. They have a 3.2 total. Heading into Florida, the Panthers have a 3.2. Not only did he put Cole Sillinger back on the top line, he is starting Merzlikins here tonight. Big mad over here. They're going Fantilli, Marchenko, Sillinger, Johnson, Monahan, Garland, Coyle, Olivier, Marchment. Florida, okay. Wandell and Verhaeghe are out. Reinhart is back in. So they're going Rodriguez, Luostarinen, Reinhart, Bennett, Tkachuk, Greer. I'll just stop there. Samoskevich on the third line. I'll start on the Florida side real quick because Columbus just makes me angry. I don't know if it was this year. I think it was last year, honestly. AJ Greer playing with Bennett and Tkachuk. These seasons just blend together. They actually have been pretty good together. The problem is they're coming in wildly over-owned. 7% top two, 15.6% projected ownership. That's a lot on a 14-game slate. I'd probably just make it a power play stack. The problem is Uvis is out, and it's going to be Aaron Ekblad running the power play. So it's like, do I really just want to stack that? It's like it's not to the level of Orlov Klingberg, but it's close. So maybe I just leave AJ Greer there, and then you have to deal with 15% plus ownership on a Florida line. But there's no matchup concerns. It's a good matchup. So, I that would be the line I do have interest in. Maybe I don't know who else goes to the top power play unit. Maybe it's Rodriguez. Maybe it's Samoskevich. Maybe I'm not sure.
I imagine Samoskevich.
Yeah, so maybe you can leave Greer off and add in Samoskevich to lower the ownership and only add $200 to make it $15K even. That's probably what I would do. Don't have a ton of interest in Rodriguez, Luostarinen, and Reinhart at 12.8. They're coming in 4% top two, 7.6% projected ownership. I'd probably do some sort of power play stack to lower the ownership. But again, it is Ekblad running the unit, which isn't ideal. On the Columbus side, these lines, there's no one playing them. And it's a good spot. Like, Florida's just not a good defensive team. Now they're missing Lundell. They have no good defensive center. Like, Rodriguez is a nice player, but his best attributes are on the wing. Now Cole Sillinger is up with Fantilli and Marchenko. Like, I guess it lowers the price to $15,300. It's not a great power play spot, so, like, I guess it's fine. But, like, you can say what you want about Marchment. He's a nice middle six player for a contending team, and maybe he shouldn't be a top line player. But, like, Cole Sillinger shouldn't be in the top six for any NHL team. I guess it's fine, but, like, at 15-3, I'd rather just go play Bennett, Tkachuk, Greer, or Bennett, Tkachuk, Samoskevich, something like that. Monahan, Johnson, Garland, if you want to ride that wave, I guess you can. They're not creating a ton, but they're not creating a ton of expected goals, I should say. They're creating a lot of shots and a lot of actual goals because Connor Garland is finally free of Vancouver, and they're 10,600. They don't play a ton of minutes. I throw them into a basket of MME. So I guess by default, that means my favorite line on Columbus would be Marchment, Coyle, Olivier at 11.9. But again, like, these Columbus lines are probably MME only for me.
Yeah, I'll start on the Florida side. I was running Sims with the new updates, and compare the exposure it gave me for lineups compared to the pool of players generated. The first, second, third, and fourth worst leverage players were all from Florida. Tkachuk, Bennett, Luciano, Rodriguez. This Sims run really does not like the Panthers here. I didn't really like Florida generally either. If I were to play anything, it would be the Bennett Tkachuk line, just because, like, listen, that Rodriguez, Reinhart just haven't done anything together this year. At 5-on-5, they've actually played quite a bit together. 350 minutes. They've scored 2 goals per 60 minutes. And you might think it's an Evan Rodriguez problem, but when they play away from each other, Rodriguez is on the ice for more goals than Reinhart is. Like, Reinhart's been on the ice for 2.0 goals per 60 minutes at 5-on-5 this year. That's about 25% worse than league average. It has been a bad year. So if anything, you would lean on the power play. Florida does draw a ton of power play opportunities. Even with Ekblad running it, the power play has been better with Tkachuk there, generally speaking. So, like, it would probably be like the Florida second line. I agree with you. If you want to take out Greer and put in Samoskevich and take the chance that he's on the power play, I think that's the approach I would take. Going to be honest, I'm in more on the Columbus side here. It's not the top line. Listen. There are 28 teams on the board here tonight. I am not playing Cole Sillinger on the road in single entry. If Cole Sillinger has a 4-point game here tonight, it's one of those tip the cap, wake up tomorrow, and do it all over again. I am not doing that. Monahan Garland is kind of interesting. Like, listen, Monahan and Johnson, regardless of who the third winger has been under bonus, has been pretty good together. And, like, I'm not worried about the 5-on-5 matchups from the Florida side at all. Obviously, Garland's been on a little bit of a heater since he got to Columbus. They don't get a ton of ice time, which concerns me. Like, they're basically the third line. That is a bit of a concern. But, they are perfectly correlated on the second power play unit. That does count for something. That Columbus second line of Monahan, Garland, and Johnson is where I would go in this game. Use them as a filler at 10,600. That's basically only if you need someone super cheap because you're playing Colorado, you're playing Tampa Bay, you're playing Edmonton, like those types of things. Honestly, otherwise, I think out of this game, I'd be more interested in one-offing some guys. Like, I would be interested in one-offing Matt Tkachuk. I would be interested in one-offing Kirill Marchenko or one-offing, Garland or Johnson rather than full stacking. But if anything, it's the Columbus second line.
Calgary Flames with a 2.4 total heading into New Jersey. The Devils have a 3.2. What are we doing here? Up we go. Calgary is going Coleman, Backlund, Farabee, Frost, Coronado, Greedon, Sharangovich, Strome, Olofsson. Devils going Hischier, Meyer, Mercer, Hughes, Bratt, Brown, Glass, Grietzuk, Lenny Ham. Okay, so they put Backlund and Coleman back together, which is interesting. Farabee being there is kind of weird, but what can you do? I really don't have a ton of interest in Calgary here tonight. 2.4 road total on a 28-team slate. I guess, if anything, they're not wildly over-leveraged like always. So if you got a Coleman, Backlund, Farabee in your Sims 20 max or something like that, I'd leave it. My interest is much more on the Devils side here. And it's not the Hischier, Meyer, Mercer line at 15-1. They're coming in double their top two, 4% top two, 8.4% projected ownership. I'm not interested in that. I'm more interested in Hughes, Bratt, and Brown. I know they haven't been world beaters at 5-on-5 since they got together. But one, they're going to avoid that Backlund-Coleman matchup, which is the only concerning matchup on Calgary. Like, if it's Strome, Sharangovich, like, they're not stopping anybody. Frost, Greedon, not really going to stop anybody. And two, that Hughes Brown line is fully correlated. And we highlighted how the Flames penalty kill is probably going to be a lot worse now without all these guys. So for 16,600, 5.6% top two, 6% projected ownership, I'm perfectly fine with the Devils second line here. If you need, a super, super cheap filler, if you're doing, some sort of really expensive power play stack, a two-man from Glass, Gritsuk, and Ham, 8,600 for the full line. They are coming in 9x their top two at 0.9, but it's still under 1%, right? It's not like they're coming in at 8% with a 0.8% top two. So a Glass, Gritsuk, two-man is perfectly fine here, but my favorite thing from this game is the Hughes line.
Yeah. Since Calgary traded Rasmus Andersson, they're 20th in the league by power play goals against per minute. So like this actually is a pretty good power play spot for the Devils. And mercifully, we have Dougie Ham running the power play and not the third best Hughes by a wide margin.
That just reminded me of I know we have big slate Thor Ragnarok. When he gets on the ship, he goes, "Enter password, the best Avenger."
Yeah, that's not Luke Hughes' password. I'll tell you that much. The Devils' power play is at 11.8 goals per 60 with Hamilton and Brown on the top unit. Like that's about 30% higher than league average for a top power play unit. It's pretty good. So this is a good power play spot for the Devils. Like you said, that second power play unit is perfectly correlated. The Sims did give me a bunch of that Meyer, Mercer, Hischier line. Not a bunch, I should say, but they are the 3 forwards that it gave me the most of compared to pool ownership. So I might just turn it into a power play stack, honestly. Not that I'm super keen on stacking the Devils here. I don't think it's a big secret. Like there are, like you said, 28 teams. I don't think I'm playing New Jersey here tonight. But a power play stack, I think, makes a lot of sense. Like you just 5-man stack that power play. You put it like Jacob Markstrom or something if you want. You still have over 4,500 left for your other 3 roster spots per spot. So like it's not like a prohibitively expensive stack where Hischier's under 6K, Bratt's under 5K, Brown's 3,300, Hamilton's under 6K. Like it's not that expensive. The New Jersey second line, like you mentioned, hasn't been that great together. Offensively, there are a lot of like tracking data numbers that point to Bratt should be performing a lot better than he is. I wonder how much is on the defense or whatever, but it doesn't matter. Like for me, it's a power play stack from the Devils in this game. If I'm playing any of the even strength lines, it is that Hughes line, but I would probably turn it into a power play stack like nothing from Calgary. I didn't even research them.
Anaheim Ducks, 3.3 total. Heading into Toronto, the Leafs have a 3.3. Ducks going Carlson, Kreider, Gauthier, Granlund, McTavish, Seneca. Leafs going back to Matthews, Nylander, Cowan, Tavares, Nyes, Domi. They broke up Matthews, Nylander, Cowan because they couldn't stop a nosebleed. Now they're back together. Going into Carlson, Kreider, Gauthier, they've been about league average defensively, but this Ducks top line has been excellent offensively. They have a 6.7% top two, 4.3% projected ownership. They're fully correlated. I do really like the Ducks top line here. They're $400 cheaper in this matchup than they were in a tougher matchup on Tuesday. Matthews and Nylander have been atrocious defensively. The Leafs penalty kill, not the worst thing on the team, but like it's not great. So I do really like the Ducks top line here. Second line at $14.9 for $2,800 cheaper is fine as well. Like Tavares, Nyes, Domi, not going to be good defensively. Anything with Max Domi on, it's not going to be great defensively. So both top two lines for the Ducks are in play for me, but it is the top line I prefer. On the Toronto side, Matthews, Nylander, Cowan, 18,700, 12.4% top two, 11% projected ownership. It's a good power play spot, and they put Oliver Ekman Larson on the top unit over Riley. That helps them. How much? I don't know, but it is a really good power play spot. It's not the best 5-on-5 spot. I don't really want to play double-digit owned Leafs on a 14-game slate, so that would be MME only for me. Tavares, Nyes, Domi at 13-4, I guess would be my preferred line, just because they're under 14K and you get 2 of the 3 on the top power play unit. And, Granlund, McTavish, Seneca, surprise, surprise, not good defensively. Paling, Viel, Killorn, probably their best defensive line, but still not great. So I guess it would be Toronto too, just because you get the 2 guys on the power play unit. But like Toronto 1's fine just because they're the 3 most talented players. Well, okay, easy. Leafs fans will jump down my throat for not mentioning Unicorn Matt Nyes as one of their best wingers, but Cowan, Nylander, Matthews, 3 of their best players together is at least interesting, but double digits and single entry, I'm probably out on them.
8 games since the Olympic break. The only team with a worse expected goal share than the Toronto Maple Leafs is the Vancouver Canucks.
Hell yeah.
The only team. And it's kind of funny because Matthews did an interview over the weekend. And he was like, we owe it to the fans to give our best effort every night. And they've been just getting their teeth kicked in their last 2 games. This is an awful team. I don't know if they're necessarily an awful team. They certainly look like they've completely given up. Not just saying that because I'm a Montreal fan. I think anybody, even Leafs fans watching the games, would be like, yeah, these guys have quit. Now, the Ducks do play a very high pace. And, the Leafs just need to get lucky on a few shots to have a big night. And Matthews and Nylander could certainly do that. But, does Oliver Ekman Larson help the power play? Maybe. I don't know.
He's a better shooter than Riley.
Yeah, but is that what they need when you have a power play with Nylander, Matthews, and Tavares?
They need a new ownership group, and
they need an exorcism is what they need. Like you said, double-digit ownership on a slate this big. I just don't have any interest at 18,700. Maybe it's Bo Gru revenge narrative. So Gru Mitchell. No, I'm not playing the Leafs here. The Nylander Matthews top line duo has been absolutely horrific defensively this season. 3.6 expected goals against, 3.7 actual goals against per 60 at 5-on-5. That's like San Jose last year stuff. It's not a small sample either. It's over 200 minutes together. And like I said, they've looked worse since the Olympic break. I really do like that Anaheim top line here tonight. They're up to 80 minutes together, 3.6 expected goals, 4 per 60. Leo Carlsson has 10 points in his last 10 games, averaging over 3 shots per game. We know how good Cutter Gauthier has been. I don't like that they're not getting a lot of ice time. Maybe they get around 18 minutes. There's a world where that Seneca Granlund duo on the second line leads this team in these forwards and ice time here tonight. That's what kind of worries me about the Ducks. But this is a great matchup for them at 5-on-5. It's just a matter of whether the goaltending for Toronto can hold up. But 17,700, they are one of those mid-price lines that I do like. When I ran the Sims, it gave me a fair amount of positive leverage on Cutter Gauthier at least, and it's basically break even on Chris Kreider. So Sims don't mind the top line either. For me, it's Anaheim 1. You want to dip down to Anaheim 2. I do think they're playable here. There are no matchup concerns. Like I said, Seneca and Granlund might lead this team, might lead their forwards in ice time here tonight. They haven't been that bad together without Cutter Gauthier, Seneca, and Granlund. 3 expected goals, 59 shot attempts per 60. They've had some trouble finishing. I don't mind a Granlund, Seneca 2-man or something like that, but it's Anaheim 1 I like best in this game, and it's not particularly close.
Yeah. Detroit Red Wings with a 2.5 total heading into Tampa. The Lightning have a 3.5. Larkin and Kopp are out a few weeks. Hate to see it, but also you do love to see it. The Yzer plan coming into focus. Red Wings are going Confer, DeBrincat, Kane, Casper, Finney, Raymond. Tampa just going big boys. Who cares? It could be Cirelli, Hagel, Kucherov. Could be Point, Gensel, Kucherov. As long as you have Kucherov, you're Kucheroving.
Yeah, just do want to mention they went to Point, Gensel, Kucherov, I think like halfway through their last game.
Yeah.
I think that's what we see at warm-up, but we're going to have to wait till warm-up.
Yeah, they go back and forth. John Cooper, notorious for that. I see negative leverage on Confer, Kane, DeBrincat at 13.8, so I'm out on the Wings. Is out on them anyway. 2.5 road total in one of the worst matchups on the board without their top two centers. Confer, not it. Tampa, you just build around Kucherov, right? We have Point, Gensel, Kucherov in the top stacks as a line, 22,700, 11.6% top two, 1.1% projected ownership. Like, yeah, they'll probably see Sider Evanson, but they're going to see Confer, Kane, and DeBrincat, which is the great equalizer here. So whatever line Kucherov is on, I am in on. A Kucherov one-off here is fine. Two-man with Gensel. You don't have to go crazy. You can if you want. It just gets really expensive. Depending on what it is, maybe I would just build a Kucherov one-off and react to the lines because you never know with John Cooper. But Darren Radish is back in the lineup, which is a boost to their power play. So, I would just wait and see. If you wanted to build Kucherov, Point, Gensel, that's, pretty much as expensive as it gets. So you can build with that and react to the line. So, but no matter what I'm doing with Tampa, Kucherov's the first person in there.
Yeah, no interest on the Detroit side for me. You mentioned Kane and Confer. They played 115 minutes together this season at 5-on-5, 3.2 expected goals against, 4.1 actual. They've been in absolutely atrocious together. I mean, Tampa sometimes does line matching at home. I don't know if they do it here in this matchup because I don't think it really matters that much. It's like, I mean, either way, like I said, I don't think it really matters that much. On the Tampa side, like that top line with, if it is Gensel, Point, Kucherov, they're at 4.4 goals per 60 minutes at 5-on-5 here tonight. As you mentioned, the power play with Darren Radish is pretty important. The goal scoring on the power play with Darren Radish as opposed to Victor Hedman is more than doubles this season on the power play. That is no small feat, especially when you're facing a Detroit team whose penalty kill has generally been fine this year, but with no Andrew Kopp, who's been one of their better forward penalty killers this season. Larkin's been, fine, good, but Kopp has been one of their better PKers. You take those two guys out. I mean, I think they're in pretty tough here. So, like, at the very least, I certainly don't mind a Kucherov one-off. Like, he is obviously super expensive here tonight. He's the most expensive winger, second most expensive or third most expensive skater. Sorry. So, like, it is a lot to ask, but I think one-off Kucherov is perfectly fine here. If it is Kucherov, Point, and Gensel, like, just straight up that three-man fully correlated on the power play. I know they're super expensive. I'm not playing them just because, like I always say, I generally don't play lines that expensive on slates this big in single entry. If they are together, I would have no issue with somebody playing them. But I think for me, they're more MME than anything else. We'll get to the defenseman at the end. I think I like the defenseman from Tampa more than the forwards in this game. But yeah, like a Kucherov one-off, a Hagel one-off, even a Gensel one-off, like all those things are perfectly fine in single entry. It's just really tough to stack a line that expensive when there are 28 teams on the board.
Edmonton Oilers with a 3.2 total heading into Dallas. The Stars have a 3.5. I think this is the highest combined total game on the slate, closing in on a 7. Edmonton going McDavid, Nugent Hopkins, Hyman, Draisaitl, Roslovic, Podkolzin. Dallas going Johnston, Robertson, Bork, Duchesne, Steele, Ben. No one's playing the Oilers. 7.4% top two, 1.1% projected ownership. Same price as the Carolina top line. These guys are going to play heavy minutes. Now, a lot of those minutes are going to be against Heiskanen and Lindell, which is not ideal. And they are going to, see almost every line because they play a bunch. But like the Johnston, Bork, Robertson line, which they'll see a fair bit, has been well below league average defensively. This Edmonton Oilers line, 4.4 expected goals for per 60, 3.5 actual in the 356-minute sample. Again, like, I prefer Tampa, but a Connor McDavid line at 1% is horrifying. So, if I was 20 maxing, going 1 of 20 would get you almost 5x the field, right? So I would definitely be over the field on the 1% just because, like, McDavid can just absolutely destroy a slate. And at 1%, you'd be dominating the field if that were the case. In single entry, I probably won't get there. If I was doing something with the Oilers in single entry, I'd probably just do a McDavid Draisaitl 2-man. Just because, like, they're the two best players, and that's usually what I do when I play the Oilers, just because, like, after that, it gets pretty expensive. But in MME on the Oilers top line, I'd probably be above the field. Dallas is interesting here for a couple of reasons. One, they're shooting on Oilers goaltending, which is always interesting. It is Tristan Jarry in net, it looks like. Now, that Johnston, Robertson, Bork line has been very good offensively in 150 minutes. They haven't really scored. Their shooting percentage is super low. But they are coming in at double digits, which is a bit not great for me. Johnston, Robertson, Bork, 18,500, 12.8% top two, 10.6% projected ownership. It is a good power play matchup. So for that, I think it's fine, but for 11,600, you can get Duchesne, Ben, Steele, 2 guys on the top power play unit. They play good minutes because they have no one in the bottom 6 right now. They have been excellent offensively. They're going to see a fair bit of that Draisaitl line, which has not been good defensively. It's a much better 5-on-5 matchup than facing McDavid, even if they haven't been great off defensively. Like, trying to get in the the McDavid line is going to probably control a fair bit of the play. I'd much rather save the almost 7,000, get Duchesne, Ben, and Steele, 3.2 expected goals, 4.5 actual in 107 minutes. If you wanted to leave Steele off and add in a power play guy, gets, add in Johnston, it becomes 15,100. Like, that's completely fine. No one's playing the second line. 0.3% top two, 0.5% projected ownership. Like Cliffy talked about how Duchesne on zone entries has been elite. So for me, it's Dallas 2 and Edmonton 1.
Yeah, I always get pretty nervous when nobody's playing Edmonton. And like you mentioned, it's a tough matchup against Lindell and Heiskanen, and it is. Since the Olympic break, Edmonton went into Los Angeles and put up 8 goals. Their last 4 games have been against Ottawa, Carolina, Vegas, and Colorado, and they have 16 goals in those 4 games. So those 5 teams, 24 goals against, 24 goals scored, Los Angeles, Ottawa, Carolina, Vegas, Colorado, and 3 of those games on the road. Like, they're just torching everybody. I really do like that Edmonton top line here. Like, they are expensive, obviously, at 20,900, but I think of the handful of lines we have over 20K here tonight, that would be the one that I would play. Just because you want to give me a Connor McDavid line at 1%. Like that feels like a pretty good idea. So, like, certainly in 20 max and above, I would have interest in Edmonton 1. Like I said, I typically don't play lines that expensive. on slates this big, but if I were to play one over 20K, it would be that Edmonton top line. And they are at 4.7 goals per 60 at 5-on-5 since the Olympic break, playing a lot of pretty good defensive teams. So they've just been on a real good tear. Don't mind Edmonton one. That would be my interest on the Oilers side. Honestly, for me, I do like that Dallas top line here tonight of Robertson, Johnston, and Bourque, 18,500. One, it's the minutes, because like even though Bourque is a third wheel, not getting top power play time, he's getting quite a bit for ice time. Like his last 5 games, 17, 18.5, 17, 17.5, 19.5. Like he'll play around 18 minutes. And then obviously Johnston and Robertson will get a lot of ice time. And when I ran Sims, it gave me a fair bit of positive leverage on that top line. Plus 8% on Johnston, plus 5.4% on Bourque, and 3.7% on Jason Robertson. And that was a line that I was looking to anyway. It's like the Oilers have not been good defensively, either of the top lines. Like their penalty kill's been atrocious. 6th worst by goals against since January 1st, 7th worst by goals against over the course of the season. The Dallas power play has honestly been just fine without Mikko Rantanen, which I didn't think it would be, but 11 expected goals, 15.4 actual. They're still torching the opposition on the power play. So I really do like Dallas one. I think he can take off Bourque and put in Ben, who's actually cheaper than Bourque, $400 cheaper. Make it more of a power play stack if you want. But for me, this is I think Dallas 2 is fine as a filler. Like if you're playing a 17 or 18K line or whatever, and you need $11,000 line, I think Dallas 2 is perfectly fine. But if I have to choose between one or the other here in this game to start my lineup with, I think it's Dallas 1.
Philadelphia Flyers with a 2.4 total heading into Minnesota. The Wild have a 3.5. The Flyers played last night. They beat the Caps with Urson in net. It's going to be Vladar. They ran Dvorak, Konechny, Bump, Zegras, Tippett, Grunstrom, Cates, Mitchkov, Barkey. Wild going Hartman, Kaprizov, Zuccarello, Eriksson, Ek, Johansson, Boldy. I don't really have a ton of interest in the Flyers here. Back-to-back on the road. 28-team slate. I guess if anything, it would be Dvorak, Konechny, Bump, but like I'm probably just out on the Flyers in single entry. The Wild is a little bit more interesting. They don't have a ton of ownership. Dvorak and Konechny so far this season have been really bad defensively. Eriksson, Ek, Boldy, Johansson go out against top comp. It's a pretty good matchup for them. 15,800, 3% top 2, 3.4% projected ownership. So I think, they're in play for sure. Zuccarello, Hartman, Kaprizov at 17.4, getting positive leverage. I think they're in play as well. I wish it was Urson going tonight instead of Vladar. That's the one thing kind of holding me back on the Wild in single entry. And that's why I do prefer Eriksson, Ek, Boldy, just because Dvorak Konechny matchup is so much better than the other ones. So it would be Minnesota 2 for me. If it was Urson, I'd be more likely to just power play stack because the Flyers penalty kill isn't great. But for me, it would be Minnesota 2.
Yeah, I am not playing the Flyers. On the Minnesota side, that top line's played 260 minutes together since Quinn Hughes got there. They're at 3.2 expected goals, 3 actual goals. It's not a super elite like Tampa or Colorado stuff we see, but that's good. And obviously they do get their fair share of minutes, especially Kaprizov, who's been around 22 minutes a game since the Olympic break. If you want to take off Hartman and put in Joel Eriksson Ek, it's only $500 more expensive. The top line would then be 17,900. The reason I mentioned doing that is the Flyers penalty kill. Philadelphia on the penalty kill since January 1st, bottom 3 in the league in goals against per minute. Only St. Louis and Vancouver has been worse. They're bottom 10 over the course of the season. The Flyers have been taking their fair share of penalties as well. tied for the 9th most time shorthanded per game since January 1st. And in that time, Minnesota is drawing power plays, the 3rd most power plays. So not only is Minnesota in a matchup where the Flyers' penalty kill has been pretty bad for 2.5 months, I guess 2 months if you want to take out the Olympic break. And the Minnesota power play has been just completely night and day since Quinn Hughes got there. But it's a matchup where the Wild draw a lot of power plays against a team that's back-to-back on the road and is taking a lot of penalties anyway. So if you want to just play Minnesota 1 or Minnesota 2, that's fine. But for me, like if I play Minnesota 1, I'd probably take out Hartman and put in Eriksson Ek. And if I play Minnesota 2, I'd probably take out Johansson and put in, if not Zuccarello, then maybe go all the way up to Kaprizov. Just because this is such a good power play spot for Minnesota, even with Vladar in net. Yeah, I agree. I do wish it was Urson, but beggars can't be choosers. It's not like this is a great spot for Vladar to turn in a big game either. So, for me, it's probably going to Kaprizov, Zuccarello, and Eriksson Ek. But one way or another, I would probably have 3 forwards from the top power play in my Minnesota lineup.
Before we move on, we have a $2 super chat from our emoji guy. He's ruining my life here for the, I don't know what that first one is. That looks like the Buddha Baga from Crash Bandicoot, and then donuts and ice cream. Anyway, thank you. I'm old. Please type it out next time.
Yeah, always appreciate the super chats and appreciate the support. Appreciate seeing you in the chat on a day-to-day basis. Hope you're having a good day. Good luck out there on this 14 gamer.
Let's go from emojis to the Rangers. What a transition. The Rangers, they 2.5 total heading into Winnipeg. The Jets have a 3 total. Rangers going Zibanejad, Perreault, Lafreniere, who's apparently the greatest to ever do it. Trocheck, Cooley, Adam Enstrom. Jets going Scheifele, Connor Iafallo, Lowry, Perfetti, Velarde. I don't really have a lot of interest in the Rangers. If you get to some Rangers top line in MME, I'd probably leave it a little bit just because you can ride that wave. They're fully correlated. They play a ton of minutes, whatever. Single entry, I'm not playing the Rangers here tonight. If Lafreniere gets another hat trick, great. But, I'm not relying on that in this matchup. The Jet side is a little bit more interesting. So, the top line here is 19,000. 8.7% projected, or top 2, 3.3% projected ownership. The one reason I would want to play them is because they're going to avoid the Fox Gavrikov pairing, and the middle 6 of the Rangers and the bottom pairs are just awful. Now it's still Igor Shesterkin, and the price of $19K kind of sucks just because we just talked about Dallas. Their top line's cheaper. But Scheifele, Connor Iafallo going up against, Laba, Sheary, Cartier, and the defensive pair of Schneider, Matthew Robertson is pretty advantageous. So I prefer Dallas, but, in MME, I think, having some Winnipeg 1 is fine here. Lowry, Perfetti, Velarde, I think is interesting at 13-8. They will see that Fox pairing for the most part, but, I don't mind them because you still get 2 of the 3 on the top power play, but it would be Winnipeg 1 in this game. But really, I'm probably just looking at this game in MME.
I do worry that the game to play the Rangers was the last game when I said it did. Yeah, the last 2 games actually. But 15,500 with sub 1% ownership, only 2% top 2 stack, but positive leverage for a line at 15,500, a line that's perfectly correlated. And they're all going to play 19 to 21 minutes. And they've been good, legitimately good since the Olympic break. Perreault and Zibanejad, 90 minutes since the Olympic break, 73 shot attempts, 4.3 expected goals, 3.3 actual at 5-on-5. That is really, really good. There are a lot of expensive defensemen on the board here tonight that you might want to play. We'll get to it later, but obviously Werenski, Yossi, Makar, Quinn Hughes, So, like, if you're looking to play a couple of 15K lines so that you can get in one of those super expensive defensemen, I don't mind this Rangers top line here. The Jets are bad. Like, I don't know if anybody's noticed recently. The Jets
Any
are bad.
professional sports team named the Jets is generally just awful.
That's a good point. So, like, again, this is one of those situations where single entry, like, I don't think I'm probably not playing the Rangers, but if you're playing a couple of those mid-tier lines because you want to get in a Werenski or a Makar or something, I think this is one of the lines that you consider. On the Winnipeg side, like, Jesus, man. Top line, Alex Iafallo, like, I don't know. On a slate this big, do I want to play a line that's $19,000 with Alex Iafallo on it with 28 teams on the board? I don't know, man. I think I'm out on Winnipeg. Like, I do think some sort of power play stack kind of makes sense because the power play has been better with Perfetti. Like, I would be perfectly fine playing Connor and Scheifele in a lineup just by themselves. You want to add in like Velarde or something, I think that's fine. Again, Cole Perfetti at 5,100 is insane to me. Like, I'm a fan of his. Like, that is far too high for what he's done this season, but what he's done in any season, like quite frankly. So maybe like a Scheifele Connor 2-man. I'm going to be honest. I think I like the Rangers top line the best in this game, but I really don't see myself playing either side here.
Just throwing this out there. Since the start of the 23-24 season, Alexis Lafreniere has more points at 5-on-5 than Brady Tkachuk and Connor Bedard. Pro ruining that McKenna sweepstakes. No, the Rangers ruined the McKenna sweepstakes by being the Rangers. Chicago Blackhawks with a 2.5 total heading into Utah. The Mammoth have a 3.5 total. Blackhawks going Bedard, Green, Burakovsky, Nazar, Bertuzzi, Teravainen. Utah going back to their old lines of Schmaltz, Keller, Krause, Cooley, Peterka, Genther, Hayton, McBain, Carconi. Oh, boy. Start on the Utah side. Both their top two lines are, well, the top line is 15,200. The second line is 15,100. Now, if Dickinson and Murphy were still on this team, it'd be an easy, let's just go play Utah too. But they don't have their two best penalty killers anymore, so it is a better power play matchup than it was a few weeks ago. And Arvid Soderblom, I believe, is still in net. I don't think
Knight's with the team, but he's not playing tonight.
Yeah, so I think, you know, the top line of Schmaltz, Keller, Krause is definitely in play here for sure. Like, the Bedard line is not good defensively. Surprise, surprise. And you get 2 of the 3 on the top power play. It's probably my preferred. But, man, like, Cooley, Genther together is awesome. And there's no way Nazar, Teravainen, and Bertuzzi are going to be anything good defensively either. So, like, I'm fine with either of them. You still get Genther on the top unit. I slightly lean Utah 1 just for the extra power play, but I think Utah 2 is perfectly fine here. If you need a cheap 2-man like Hayton Carconi for 6,300, I think is fine. Just because Carconi's a shot bot and he's 2,500. So, and you get Hayton on the top unit. So Hayton Carconi 2-man, perfectly fine. I'm fine with either of the top 2 Utah lines. I'd slightly lean Utah 1 just for the power play. On the Chicago side, I don't really want to play Chicago. No one's playing them, but you know, the second line, Nazar, Bertuzzi, Teravainen, 12,900. They're fully correlated. Utah takes an absolute boatload of penalties. It would be something I would dabble in an MME. Maybe if I was doing 150 lineups, I'd have one full Blackhawks power play stack just for the vibes. But Utah just takes an unbelievable amount of penalties, so I do something with the power play in MME, but in single entry, I'm out on them.
I'm not playing Chicago. I don't care if I'm playing 500 lineups. On the Utah side, it's the top line for me. They've just been so good together this season. 190 minutes with Krause on the top line, 70 shot attempts, 3 expected goals, 5.6 actual. Obviously, the shooting percentage is running a bit hot. You know what's good for a hot shooting percentage is facing Arvid Soderblom. The guy has an .876 save percentage this season with 0 goals saved above expected in 20 games. Now, I say all that. I fully expect that he'll just throw up a 37 save shutout or something like that here tonight. But this is a great spot for that Utah top line. They are my preferred line. I mean, one, it's a minutes thing. The other is the power play, as you mentioned. I don't know if how much worse Chicago's power play is going to get without Dickinson and Murphy. I imagine it's going to be worse regardless. And Chicago, it's not like they typically take a ton of penalties, which is one of the concerns. But it is a good power play spot. The Utah power play has been better with Barrett Hayton. They do get Mikhail Sergachev back for the power play as well. So Utah won for me. If you want to take out Krause and put in Hayton or Genther, I mean, especially Genther. Genther is the most positively leveraged forward in the sims that I ran from Utah, but Keller and Schmaltz aren't far behind. So, like, if you want to just stack those 3 guys together, for what is it, 18-3, I believe. So I think that would be okay. But for me, it's the Utah top line. It's another one of those 15K lines that I'd be perfectly fine playing here tonight. You want to dip down to Utah too, I mean, go ahead. But for me, this is a Utah 1 game.
Colorado Avalanche, they 3.5 total. Heading into Seattle, the Kraken have a 2.6. McKinnon's back in there after getting ejected the other night with Netchus and Kadri. Like, he got pushed into the goaltender, but, that's neither here nor there. Then Nelson, Nichushkin, Colton, Seattle going Beniers, McCann, Eberle, Stevenson, Gaudreau, Tolvanen. It's like, come on, man. Like, we're getting 22,500 Colorado, 20.9% top 2, 5.8% projected ownership on a 14-game slate against Chandler Stevenson. They're my top line on the board here tonight. Whether you want to spend the 22,500, go for it. It's a great 5-on-5 matchup. It's a very good power play matchup. We highlighted how we think Kadri will help the power play. They haven't run lines. Colton got hurt last game. We'll have to see. He's probably going to play, I guess. But this is a Colorado 1 game for me. It's just too good of a 5-on-5 matchup. It's a good power play matchup. Again, do you want to spend the 22.5 or not? That's on you. On the Seattle side, for 14,900 in MME, I would take a stab at Beniers, McCann, Eberle. Very little. Like, the more lineups I'd make, 1 of 20, 3 of 150, something like that. I don't have a ton of interest, so I'm probably out on the Kraken.
Yeah, Colorado top 5 penalty kill by goals against per minute this season. Obviously, Seattle's power play better of late with Jared McCann since he came back from injury in December, but still not even league average. So bad power play spot for Seattle. We've gone through a bunch of lines around that 15K price range. We just went over the Utah 1. We talked about the Rangers top line. Like, I guess if you want to add them into that 15K bucket, like, that's okay, but they're nowhere near the top for me in that price range. Like, we'll honestly get to Nashville next. Like, I think there's a Nashville line in there. We talked about the Anaheim second. Like, there are just way too many lines for me. So out on Seattle. Colorado, I mean, the top line is playable here. Again, for the third time, I don't usually play lines at 22,500, especially ones where, like, we don't really know how the power play is going to go with Nazem Kadri there. It's got to get better than dead last in the league. It's hard because you can't get worse. But how much better, I think, is still fairly up for debate. So, like, I think this is a case where I would rather one-off Nathan McKinnon or something like that than full stack anything. Like, I think a one-off McKinnon is just fine. I think a one-off Nazem Kadri is just fine because he's only 5,500. He's probably going to play around 20-plus minutes with top power play time. I think those things are where my interests are in this game. What I will say for people looking for super cheap guys, because maybe you're playing Tampa Bay or Edmonton or something like that, 160 minutes together for Parker Kelly and Gavin Brindley this season, 3 expected goals, 3.1 actual per 60 at 5-on-5. I don't know if anybody's watched the depth from Seattle this year. There isn't any.
Does anyone watch this depth of Seattle?
Yeah, it's a good point. This Colorado bottom 6 is generally very underrated because of how good the top of the lineup is, and they don't play a ton of minutes, but they are incredibly cheap, and they're legitimately good. They are like a two-man that I would play if you're playing, like, again, expensive Tampa Bay or Edmonton. Other than that, it's one-offs from the top guys.
Yeah. Well, that line needs Ivan, and then we'll be cooking with gas. Nashville Predators with a 3.3 total heading into Vancouver, whatever that team is called. They should just fold the franchise. They have a 2.8. Preds going Haula, Forsberg, Evangelista, O'Reilly, Stamkos, Marchessault. Canucks, it really doesn't matter what they're going, but they're going Rossi, Besser, Ogren, Pedersen, Kane, O'Connor, Bluger, Sasson, Carlson. I only have interest in Bluger and Carlson. 5,600 for the two of them. If you want a power play stack Tampa, I would look there. Other than that, Vancouver is done until 2027 for me. Nashville, I hate these lines. Haula does nothing for me. Marchessault does nothing for me, but it would be Haula, Evangelista, Forsberg at 15,400. 3.6% top 2, 4.3% projected ownership. Haula is whatever, but Evangelista and Forsberg have been their best forwards this season. That would be the line. There's no resistance from the Canucks. Like, there's just nothing there. I guess if you wanted to go to O'Reilly, Stamkos, Marchessault, that's fine just because they're fully correlated and Vancouver doesn't have a penalty kill. They just throw random guys on the ice who are wearing jerseys to the game from the 100 section on the ice for the penalty kill. So I guess from that standpoint, O'Reilly, Stamkos, Marchessault is fine, but I much prefer Haula, Forsberg, Evangelista.
So the 5-on-5 line, I'm not playing Vancouver. Again, Vancouver 3, if you want a two-man, Sasson and Carlson, like, that's about my interest. Put them in the bucket with Gavin Brindley and Parker Kelly. The 5-on-5 line I like best in this game is Forsberg, Evangelista, Haula, just because the duo that I like best in this game is Forsberg and Evangelista. And when I ran Sims, the positive leverage it gave me, if you want to take out UC Saros, the 3 top skaters from Nashville were Eric Haula, Luke Evangelista, and Philip Forsberg. Here's the issue. Since January 1st, Vancouver Canucks are giving up 15 goals against per 60 on the penalty kill. 15 goals against per 60 on the penalty. For a little bit of context, that's about 30% worse than the 31st place team. It's in fact pushed the Canucks to dead last on the PK over the course of the season. This is a great power play spot for Nashville. And stacking the second line that only has one power play guy on it feels like a bit of a mistake to me. So, like, I think this is a case where I would play like O'Reilly, Stamkos plus Forsberg, or O'Reilly, Marchessault plus Forsberg. I would be pretty hesitant. The only reason I don't like Nashville too is because it's such a good power play spot for them. Since they added Marchessault back to the top power play when he returned from injury, they're at 11.6 goals per 60. And Vancouver's even taking a fair share of penalties, like, you know, not a ton, but about league average since January 1st. So, like, this is a great power play spot for Nashville. So I would do, like, again, O'Reilly, Stamkos plus Forsberg, O'Reilly, Marchessault plus Forsberg, something like that. The 5-on-5 line I like best is Nashville too, and it's not even close. But it's hard to leave off the power play guys in a power play matchup this good.
Pittsburgh Penguins with a 2.9 total. Heading into Vegas, the Golden Knights have a 3.5. Looks like Crosby is still out. Pittsburgh going Raquel, Chinnikov, Rust, Novak, Mantha, Koivunen, Kindle, Soderblom, Hayes. Vegas going Eichel, Bowman, Barbashev, Marner, Dorofeyev, Howden, Hurdle, Smith, Sissons. I know at the end of last game they went Hurdle, Marner, Dorofeyev, but they were losing.
That's what they ran at morning skate today.
They did?
Yeah, and they had Mark Stone. Mark Stone was in a non-contact jersey, but he was top line, top power play.
That probably means he's playing.
Yeah, but I mean, official. Stone is a game time decision.
I mean, he should wear a non-contact jersey at every practice the way he gets injured. So if Stone's in, I don't have any interest in the Pittsburgh top line. If Stone's out, I would maybe have some interest. But, like, it's the last game of the night. I'm not sitting around on a 14-game slate waiting for Mark Stone news to play the Pittsburgh Penguins. So I guess it would be the second line of Novak, Mantha, Koivunen under 10K as a filler. That's where I would be. If Stone plays, now the more complicated side is Vegas, right? If Stone plays, Eichel, Stone, Barbashev would be of interest to me, but so would Hurdle, Marner, Dorofeyev. The problem is, like, yes, they're fully correlated. It's not a great power play matchup, but Mitch Marner on the wing, much more valuable DFS than Mitch Marner at center. I would still probably go to Eichel, Stone. I guess I would build Hurdle, Marner, Dorofeyev, and if Stone's in, then react to it. But, if Stone's in, I'd probably get Eichel, Stone in.
Yeah, the Stone news is very, very, very important. I mean, not to put too fine a point on it, but without Mark Stone on the power play this season, the Vegas power play, their shot rate goes down 25%, their goal rate cuts in half. It is a pretty big deal. And, you look at the goal scoring for the top line with Stone on the ice, 3.3 goals per 60 without Stone, 4.4 goals with him. So, like, the goal scoring goes up 33%. This is very important news. This is what I will say, is that Eichel, Barbashev, Stone is 18,500. This is one of the last games of the night, but in Nashville, a Stamkos, Forsberg, O'Reilly stack is also 18,500. So if you want a chance that Mark Stone is going to play, you build with that. And if he's out, you can just straight swap to that Nashville, O'Reilly, Stamkos, Forsberg stack. That is something that you can do here on this slate. Whether you want to do it or not is a different question, because this is a pretty bad power play matchup for Vegas. Like, their power play is tremendously better with Stone. But the Penguins on the penalty kill since January 1st, lowest goals against per 60 in the league, second lowest goals against per 60 in the league over the course of the season, like, just a shade behind Chicago. And I imagine Pittsburgh ends up first by the end of the season once Chicago's penalty kill falls off without Dickinson or Murphy. So I really do like the Vegas top line here. It's just that if Stone doesn't play, you probably just have to straight up pivot over to that Nashville stack. And it's like, how much do you want to play Nashville here tonight? You can leave a bunch of salary on the board and just go play Marner, Hurdle, Dorofeyev instead. Like, you leave 1,500 on the board, but there is a Nashville stack that you can play if Stone is out. I really would like the Vegas top line here. I'm not sure I want to limit my options to, if Stone's out, I have to play Nashville. There's really nothing, like, not a lot else that you can play. Maybe some sort of Pittsburgh stack, but that's basically it from the late game. So I really do like Vegas, the Vegas top line. It's just, we won't know until warmups. And as for Pittsburgh, like, maybe like a two-man again of like Novak, Mantha or something like that. That's basically my only interest on the Pittsburgh side.
Let's talk about defensemen here. In the top range, we have Werenski, Yossi, Makar, Chikrin, Hughes, Dahlin, Bouchard, Radish, Fox. This is a really good spot for Zach Werenski. He's 8K, which is cheaper for him. He would be my number one. After that, I believe it would be Makar for me. This is I mean, if you want to put Yossi too, I wouldn't argue with you. It's such a good spot for Nashville that I think Yossi is definitely in the conversation. So, obviously the three most expensive guys, Werenski, Yossi, Makar, would be some form of 1, 2, 3. But after that, I think it would be Darren Radish for me, then Jacob Chikrin, Rasmus Dahlin, just because it's a great power play spot for Buffalo.
Yeah, Werenski, Makar, and Yossi are 1, 2, 3 by projections, and they're basically in a tier of their own. They all have similar ownership, like 8 to 11%. So it's just a matter of where you want to go. My number one is Roman Yossi, just because of the matchup against the Vancouver team that is barely an NHL team at this point. But I do, they're all three of them are right there. For me, it's probably Darren Radish of the 6K plus guys. He has the best point per dollar value projection of any defenseman over 6K here tonight. Really good matchup at home against Detroit, missing their top two centers again. So I would go Yossi, Radish, and then Rasmus Dahlin, just because it is such a good matchup against Washington. But I do think, if somebody plays Werenski or Makar instead of Yossi, no issue. Mid-price range, Charlie McAvoy is up there for me in a really good matchup at home against San Jose. Miro Heiskanen, kind of the same thing at home against Dallas. Probably going to be a very high-paced matchup. Jackson Lacombe is kind of interesting here for me. He doesn't seem to be carrying much ownership, under 2%, and it's the Toronto Maple Leafs. Just throwing that out there. Brandon Montour has a very, very good projection here tonight in what should be a high-paced game against Colorado. His point per dollar values at near a point per $1,000 is nearly 2.2, which is pretty good for a defenseman at 4,700. Jacob Trouba, perfectly fine, I think, for peripherals playing Toronto. Under 4K, Aaron Ekblad, obviously running the power play for Florida. Keandre Miller, perfectly fine here, along with Alex Nikishin from Carolina. Dylan Sandberg projecting well, as is Esa Lindell. Darnell Nurse is under 4K in what should be a good matchup for him for peripherals, but I would probably play Lindell instead. Sam Malinsky at an even 3K is fine. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, I guess he's running the power play for Toronto in what should be a high-paced matchup against Anaheim, and he's only 3,100, so that's fine. Under 3K, Simon Nemec, Braden McNabb, and Jalen Chatfield is stone min price for Carolina, and his last 3 games, 26 minutes, 22 minutes, 21 minutes.
Let's talk about goalies. Top range actually is kind of interesting, but Vejmelka's 8,600, Bussy's 8,500, Wallsted's 8,400. That's just way too expensive for me in GPP. Probably out on them unless I had the space. I feel like in this range, Jacob Markstrom is going to be the most chalky, and that's horrifying. I don't know. Markstrom and UPL are probably the highest projected. It just gives me the heebie-jeebies to the point where I'd rather just go play Vasilevsky against the Detroit team missing their top 2 centers in the top range. I do think Markstrom and UPL are fine. I'd just rather play Vasilevsky. And then moving down the board here, I think, if it is UC Saros, I think he's fine as well. I wish it was Jack Reeves. I guess Merzlikins is fine at 7,600. I think Dostal, if he starts, is fine at 7,600. Dustin Wolf at 7,400 is fine. I think the one that really sticks out is Igor at 7,100 against the Jets. The Jets just aren't a great team. So in the cheap range, I'd go Igor. I guess Binnington as well at 6,900. Binnington sucks, but it's Carolina, so shot volume will be high. So I think I would go Vasilevsky in the top range, but I understand if you want to play Markstrom or UPL. Yeah,
the top projected goalie is Markstrom. He also has a top point per dollar value. I do worry about him. It's another one of those things. I know Calgary scored 5 goals the other night. Then they got shut out the game after. I think that's a little bit more indicative of how this is going to go. So Markstrom, Vasilevsky, absolutely at home against Detroit. Again, really good matchup for Tampa Bay. Jesper Wallstedt, 8,400 at home against a road back-to-back Philadelphia team. If you have 8,400, Wallstedt's the number 3 projected goalie. So I think that's perfectly fine. For the cheaper guys, like, I know it's a little bit terrifying. Joey Daccord, 7,200. It's at home against Colorado, but Seattle's penalty kill is their Achilles heel, and Colorado's power play is their Achilles heel. So, as long as, maybe they'll be better with Kadri, but if you need a punt, I do think Joey Daccord is fine. Dustin Wolf on the other side of that game against Markstrom. I think Dustin Wolf very much up there as well. His point per dollar value, considering the matchup, is not that bad. And obviously Igor, 7,100 on the road against Winnipeg. Igor's still Igor, even if the Rangers aren't the Rangers of a few years ago.
We will be back on Saturday. I believe it's one game tomorrow. So look forward to that. Who are you liking for your hat trick pick?
Breakout game in a very good power play matchup. I'm going Joel Eriksson-Ek.
Nice. The Leafs are on the board, so I got to pick someone against them. I didn't plan on doing that, but it just happened that way. I'm going Uncle Leo Carlson.
I like
Frostback, just the table rose his 1 inch. But anyway, we'll be back on Saturday. Good luck, everybody, tonight, and we'll see you in the Discord.
Good luck tonight, everyone.